All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into the webinar. I want to say hi. I got Tom on the camera here with me as well. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I can't wait for this webinar. Um, so I was kind of walking Tom through everybody who's been saying hi in the chat, letting him know where everybody's in. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, really across Canada. We got somebody now, Kale from Victoria, BC. So we are pretty much here. I need some for St. John's. I need somebody from Newfoundland. But other than that, we're as far as New Brunswick, as far west as sometimes the Newfoundland people, they just don't want to say hi in the chat.
Yeah, I hear
I'm
that.
calling them out. I'm calling them out right now. But thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. I want to get some of the housekeeping stuff, as always, out of the way. So let me do this for you. The first thing I want to remind everybody is that I went back too far. I've gone through those slides. The first thing I want to remind everybody is the quality setting. I know sometimes people people tell me that they can't see something or something's blurry, or sometimes they get buffering, and sometimes that can simply be the quality that you have from your YouTube feed. So at the bottom right, you'll see the gear. You can move up or down that quality as needed. The other thing is sometimes you'll get weird buffering issues. In fact, some people, they're like, "Oh, has it started?" There we go. Newfoundland checking in, by the way, Tom.
There we go.
So if you're having buffering, you can always just refresh. That solves so many of the problems. On a Mac, it's Command Shift R for a hard refresh. In Chrome on the browser itself, it's F5 or Control R. Really nice and quick, but that's going to solve 9 out of 10 of your problems if you have any. So if you have that issue, just hit a quick refresh. The last thing I want to say is, firstly, thanks everybody for introducing themselves. It helps me give Tom some context about who's on the webinar, what areas, what markets you guys are in, and let him kind of feel like he's not speaking into a vacuum. So I do really appreciate that. Also, feel free to ask questions. So we do have some time at the end. I'm going to keep Tom as long as I can. He's chained to the desk. His doors are locked until I release them. That's how these work.
There's no AC in here either. It's gonna get bad.
It's gonna get, yeah. So you better answer. But no, feel free to ask questions. I'm gonna dog ear them, and I'll come back to them and keep chatting. I love seeing the chat going. So keep on chatting. So without further ado, I want to introduce Tom Storey, our keynote speaker today. Now, Tom is himself with Royal LePage Signature Realty. That's in Toronto, of course. Top 1% of his market here in Toronto. He and his team achieved Red Diamond last year, which is awesome. And he's saying he's calling one chairman's club member is going to drop next year for Tom and his team. That's the way it works, right? You have
I,
to pick a person.
I think I have a few in mind. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. You're going after them. But one of the really cool things about Tom and his story is Tom has been in the business for 5 years. And what we chatted about actually for the last little bit before the webinar is he said, I think because I still haven't been in the industry for that long, I just execute on what I want to do. So I'm really excited for everybody here in the webinar to hear Tom tell us 5 ways to make our phone ring without costing much money.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the introduction, Mike, and thank you for everyone on the webinar right now. This talk I'm really excited about. I put a lot of time and effort into doing this, and something I thought I'd share before I get started is that as I was kind of putting this talk together, I actually had a few realtors come to me and say, "Hey, you're giving everything away that you're doing that's working for you," and I'm like, "Yeah, but when I give it away, other people will just take it, they'll make it better, and then I get to see what they're doing with these ideas." So I think what's so awesome, especially with this Royal LePage community, is that it's sharing, right? Like, we want to get the information out there, and it's so exciting for me to be able to share a few things that I've been working in my business right now, and then seeing what everyone that's watching this webinar can go do with it. So after this, I really, really hope that you go through all the 5 and pick. You don't have to do all 5 at once, but pick 2, 3 of them, go try them, be consistent with them, and I want you to share the results with me, because I know the results that I'm getting, but I know I'm certainly not doing them perfectly. So I'd love to hear what other people are doing. So we'll get to the next slide now. So the whole point of this talk is that marketing to make your phone ring for free. So there's lots of ways that we can market ourselves, right? We can spend a bunch of money on advertising. We can be on all the benches. But at the end of the day, at least what I've found in my business is that no matter what you do, repeat and referral is the core of any successful real estate. So imagine you could wake up every single morning and you could really be excited about your business, because I know I can give you ways to make your phone ring, but I don't want your phone to ring by people that you aren't going to work with. or are going to like working with. And I know a lot of people in the real estate industry, I know I'm a little bit different because this is what I've done straight out of university, but I know a lot of people can relate with me in the fact that I remember in my summer jobs in university, I would literally sometimes wake up and be like, like I just wasn't excited about my day. And I have a feeling that if you're on this webinar and you're willing to spend your time to learn and try and get better, there's a good chance that you, just like me now, are excited when you wake up. So let's find ways to market ourselves to the people that we actually want to work with. That's then going to make our business that much better. Because I know, and I'll tell you, sometimes, and I know everyone has this, you go through a transaction and at the end of it, you're like, wow, that was amazing. Like that reminds me why I love what I do. But then we also have the other side of it where your phone rings, you pick it up and you're like, your heart sinks, right? I know we all have those clients. So what I really want to focus on today is like, this is the type of marketing that I've found has worked the best for me to attract the people that I want to work with. So this is my new favorite saying: visibility beats ability. Now, I had the opportunity about 2 months ago to do a webinar where I got to interview Steve Passanelli. So Steve is the CMO of BombBomb, which is a video sharing app, very much like Videolicious. And the whole time throughout this interview with him, he kept saying, Tom, everything that all these people are doing is great, but visibility beats ability. So that doesn't mean that you don't need the ability. You certainly do. Like when you have the opportunity to sit down at that kitchen table and look that seller or that buyer face to face, you got to know your stuff. So don't think I'm putting that aside, but none of that matters unless you're visible. So what I'm going to go through today, and what I really want you to think about, and even maybe take some notes, like write down right now what you're doing in your business that you think is making you visible. Because you can be the best realtor in the world. You can know all the paperwork, all the clauses, right? But if no one knows how good you are at what you do, simply, to put it frankly, like I really don't think it's going to matter. And I always joke, I'm the best example. Like the people that are doing things on the high level, I'm telling you, they're not any more intelligent. Like the high producers, they just have a system that they're following and they're making sure that they're visible. A term that I love is, attention is the new currency. So I really want you to get to the point in your business where every single year, and this should be in your business plan, what are you doing to make yourself visible? Okay, so I think we'll straighten out a few things first before we get really into everything here, but there's free marketing and there's paid marketing. So paid marketing, we all know what that is. It's spending money. Now, free marketing, what you're doing is you're spending time. And I've actually had some people say to me, Tom, at some point, my time could be more valuable than just spending money on something to get done. And I agree with that. But I think no matter where you are with your business, whether you're just getting started or you're chairman's with Roy LePage, free marketing, it's amazing how much return you can get from it just by putting a little bit of time and effort. None of this is just going to come easily. You have to have a system, you have to have it in place, and you have to follow it. So the one thing that I see a lot is that, when we spend money on ads, we're typically putting them out there to strangers, right? We're trying to win over people that don't know who we are. It's no different than taking your strength, which you consider yourself to be a 7 out of 10 on, and getting yourself to a 9 instead of trying to get your weakness that you're a 2 out of 10 on and getting it to a 5. Like I really think if we just turned our efforts towards stop trying to convince people that don't already know, like, and trust us to come like and trust us, and just double down, triple down on the people that we already know, because they already like you. They probably already worked with you at some point, or even if they haven't, they're in your database. And then what I really want to talk about is the marketing that you're putting out there. It's not just marketing, but your brand. Think about your overall brand. Is it attracting your ideal client? So I know the type of client that, if everything was perfect, this is what it would look like. And when I'm putting out my marketing, I have that in mind every single time I'm putting an ad out, doing something on Instagram, anything on my website, like anything that represents my brand, the Storey team, and Roy LePage. I want to make sure that it's attracting the type of person that I want to work with. Because I think, at the end of the day, you can sell 100 homes a year, you can sell 150 homes a year, but I've seen a lot of people that do it at this extremely high level, but they're miserable. So let's find a way to sell 100 homes a year, but also love what you're doing each and every day. We have business plans normally, right? We have a business plan of what we need to do, what our goals are, but then we have to have consistent execution and strategicness to it to actually find the results that we're looking for. And then I think this is something that's really interesting. So I read this in a book. There's this guy named Joe Polish who's amazing. You should look him up. He does a lot of marketing stuff. He has the Genius podcast and things like that. And in his book, he basically, the whole chapter was, is your business referral worthy? Now, I know real estate's filled with ego and we all think like, yeah, like what we do is awesome. But have you ever pinpointed what you do in your business that you think is the reason people continue to come back? Because a lot of people are really good at what they do and give customer service and they're great at it. But what is the reason that they're choosing you instead of somebody else? And when they do that, why would they refer you after the fact, right? So I really want everyone to try and figure out, why are people referring you? What's the main thing? Is it because you consistently touch base with them after the sale? Is it because of throughout the process in the sale? Is it because you asked at the right time? Like, what is it? What's the reason that people are choosing you and choosing to refer your name to their friends and family? So this is a perfect segue because this is a quote from Joe, who I was just talking about. And he said, selling is what you do when you're in front of a crowd. Marketing is what you did to get the crowd in front of you. So let's kind of switch this and put it in real estate terms, right? Selling is what you do when you're at the kitchen table. Marketing is what you did to get a seat at that table. And this goes back to what I was talking about before. So visibility is marketing. That gets you the seat, right? Once you get the seat at the table, then you can show them you got the chops. Then you can show them you know what you're talking about. I found for myself, and if anyone here is watching that hasn't been in the business that long, in my first few years, and even now, sometimes when I go meet with someone, I can see the sellers give each other the look like, oh, this guy's young, right? But when I get the opportunity to sit down because I've been referred to them, because I've put so much marketing out to try and attract the people that I would love to work with, and then I show them I know what I'm talking about, it's amazing the change. And just like psychologically with me, knowing that once I get that seat, it's like they're going to choose me. Like once I get that seat, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to do when I'm in front of them. So think about in your business, what are you doing to get the seat at the table? And when you get that seat at the table, are you going to be ready? So now we're going to get into the bulk of this, and we're going to spend most of the time on the presentation on these 5 free ways to make your phone ring. So we'll jump into the first one. So video CMAs. So before I play this video as the example, I want to kind of just go over what these are, why I'm using them, and the results that I've seen in them. So for our clients, most of the time, the thing that they want to know most, like the thing that's most important to them, is what's the value of their property. And we send out paper CMAs and we get in front of them, or we call them, and we do free home evaluations, everything like that. But this form of sending a video CMA, I've never had such amazing traction from my clients. Now, what I'm doing in this example is it's me in the bottom corner, and then I'm basically just filming my screen. I'm sharing my screen and it's me in the bottom corner. And what I'm doing is saying, hey, I just wanted to check in. This is my twice a year, I send a real estate health check to all my clients because I think it's really important to know the value of your property. Now, something to keep in mind is that these are not in-depth CMAs. This is a real estate health check. The whole point of me sending this video is the fact that I want to take the conversation from online and I want to take it offline, right? So this is me being visible, showing them that I have the ability, and I sent 100 of these out before the fall market, and I got an 85% response rate. And the responses that we're getting were like, oh my God, Tom, this is so cool. I can't believe it's actually a personal video. So if we could, we'll show the example and then I'll talk a bit more about it after.
Let me see if I can, Tom, because I wasn't sure that you had video in there. I didn't set it up to kind of
Should be a
go with
video.
the audio, but let's see if I can get the audio going for you. One thing I'll ask while I'm doing this, one of the concerns I've heard from realtors doing is how much time are they're like, I don't have time to sit down and do 100 videos.
Right. I honestly, these take 2 minutes max. It's okay if we can't play it. I'll just explain it. I'll actually act out
Let's see
like
if I can.
what a live one would look like. But these take 2 minutes. this is, I'm telling you, if there's one thing you're going to do in your business to ramp it up here in the summer when times normally get slightly slower and get your pipeline filled for the fall market, this is what you got to do. 2 minutes each. You don't edit them. As soon as you're done, you send it out. And what I would do is when you're sending these out, and for everyone, actually, before I get to that, a lot of people still just no matter what are like, I'm not doing video. I'm not doing video. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't, I'm just not for me. Right. And I get that. What I would say is though, think about it this way. These type of videos, the client actually could care less about you being in it. This is for them. It's not about you. This is you trying to give valuable information to the client. You're showing them your screen. You're showing them properties. So I'll kind of act out what this would look like. So I would normally send this out. And I would say like, hey, Mike, it's Tom. I just want to check in. I hope you're having an awesome summer. I wanted to send you this quick 2-minute video and I'm calling it my real estate health check. So right before the spring market and right before the fall market, I think it's awesome if my clients get to know the current market value of your property. And then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, Mike, these are the past 3 properties that sold on your street. And then I'll show them, they were at least detached. The lot was 25, like they're comparable in some ways, right? But I'm not sending in this video. This isn't in depth like, hey, Mike, your property is worth exactly this amount of money. But what I'm trying to do is just get myself out there, show them that I'm being visible. Oh, so here we go. So it's showing a little bit here, but without the sound. So you see here, I'm showing, hey, this is what I'm going off of. It was a detached home. It's a 30 by 130-foot lot. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a finished basement, garage with 2 parking spots, and it sold. Everything that I'm going to show you today has sold in the past 3 months. And then I go back and I show the listings. And by the way, make sure you're showing the client only listings for obvious, just like legal reasons. And I go through and just say, hey, here's a few that have sold. I film this video, I wrap it up. It's in less than 2 minutes. I say, if you'd love any more information about this, it'd be great if we could grab a coffee. The whole point of this is to set a face-to-face meeting. We always talk about ways to communicate with clients because things have changed, right? But no matter what, face-to-face is still the absolute best way. And I would say that when you have the opportunity to send your video, even if it's just faced one way, it's still the best way to take them offline and get them. And even if they're not looking to move, they just think this is so cool. So twice a year, you get to remind them that you know what you're doing, you're the area expert, and here's what your clients need to know. So if we break it down a little bit more, like I said, 2 minutes max. This is not a full CMA. This is a health check. We're just trying to get in people's inboxes and for them to actually respond. Think about the emails that you get on a daily basis, right? It's a bunch of spam, a bunch of companies trying to get your business, right? So if you could actually provide something of value to your client in an email form where you don't have to be face-to-face, this is leverage, right? You get to sit in front of your computer, and I'm telling you, even people that don't like video, sending these out, and once you get in the groove of sending, you don't have to do 100 in a day, obviously. Like do some compound time blocks in your calendar. Put, Monday morning, I'm going to send 10. Tuesday afternoon, whatever it is, segment them, right? Because your clients are all going to respond. Now, the best part I think about this, and this is one of my favorite things from one of my mentors, Rich Robbins. I know a lot of people know him. He always says, show them, don't tell them. So I'm finding an opportunity to show my clients what their property is worth. It's not just me sending them a quick text and saying like, hey, this sold, this is what you're worth now. Or even face to face. I don't have the stuff to back it up unless I'm doing a real listing presentation, right? So this gives me the opportunity to show them and not just tell them. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, well, okay, this is great. How do I send these? There's 2 ways you can send them. One is a program called Loom, so Loom, so it's on the screen there. It is free. You have to be using Google Chrome as your web browser because Loom is an extension. But basically what you do, you go into your Gmail or anything really, and you click record screen. You have your comparables up on the screen and you go through everything. So you can do it on Loom. It's really easy. There is also a way to do it on Loom where your face actually isn't there. But I really do think you should kind of get over that comfort zone, get yourself out there. Your face is this small on the bottom of the screen, and They're not looking at that. They're looking at the screen at what you're talking to them about. And you probably notice even, during this webinar, I have to stare, straight at the screen. What's so great about these is straight at the camera. What's great about these is that you're not staring straight at the camera. What you're doing is looking at the screen. You don't have to edit them, and you send them out. Now, using them as video CMAs is a great way to do it, but I want to give you two other examples as well. So think about if you got a new buyer and you're going to show them property. We'll go back just for a sec. So if you got a new buyer and it was the first time you're going to meet them, and you say, hey, you know what, Mike, I'm really excited to help you buy your first place. I just want to show you the 5 properties that we're going to see tomorrow before we meet in person. And it gives me the opportunity to go through and show Mike, hey, I know what I'm talking about. Here's what we're going to see. You can click through the pictures. You can show them everything. Or I'm very well aware that not every market in Canada is doing what Ontario is doing right now, right? So like we need to get price reductions. So don't you think it would be easier to get a price reduction if you could send your clients this video and say, hey, here's what's sold in the area, here's what's come to the market, here's where we're at, and you can kind of show them and get them to the point where they're tripping over the truth, right? Where then they might actually say to you, oh, like, Tom, thanks for saying this over. Do you think we need to change the price, right? And I'll tell you where this has worked absolutely the best for me. If you're going to a listing presentation and you're going to be in competition, send them a video like this, but do an in-depth one. I've sent 10-minute videos like this before to clients before I ever met them, because all I'm thinking in my mind is, I know me and all the other realtors are going to go through the same information on comparables, right? But who's the one that they're going to remember that sent them this before they ever met? It's just another way to be visible and try and stand out. Now, I think Mike, Roy LePage has a deal with BombBomb, right? Where you get discount pricing.
I was looking into it. I don't know that we still do, actually.
Okay.
But I know some people in the chat. There's a lot of chat right now, but the cost of Loom and the cost of BombBomb and this, that, and the other.
Sure.
And so I've been mentioning them. Loom is a free tool. They do have some paid versions of it as well.
You don't need the no.
The benefit, and what I'll explain to people about BombBomb, the benefit of BombBomb is much deeper analytics plus drip campaigns. So the ability to set up a video campaign. So if you're, I really was happy to see Tom putting Loom in here, because we actually use Loom a lot in the office as well. Our customer care team uses it. It's a great tool. And again, it's really quick and easy. And, cost is a really easy way for people to not do this stuff.
Right.
So good news, Loom is free, so there's nothing stopping you from using it.
Yeah,
So
Loom's 100% free. And with Loom, even the free version, when they watch it, it will send you an email and tell you that your video has been watched, right? So it's tracking it. The difference with BombBomb is that BombBomb, if you do want to pay for it, it's like $500 a year, maybe. It's in that range.
Yep.
You can get a Gmail BombBomb extension, and apparently it works on the Windows side as well. Where you can literally just, in your Gmail, there's a button that says record screen, and you can send it and send it off. And BombBomb, but it will track every single one of your emails. So I found it's amazing that in 6 months, sometimes I'll get like a notification on my phone saying a client opened an old CMA and watched it. So it lets me know, like, oh, maybe they're thinking about making a move, and I get to call them and just check in. And it's great because they're like, oh, Tom, that's so weird. We're just thinking about selling. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what great timing, right? So I love it for that. And even when you send another agent an offer and they go, oh, I didn't get it yet, you're like, I see that you opened my email. So lots of ways that these are amazing. I think with new buyers going through everything, with your clients doing CMAs, before a listing presentation, if you're going to be in competition, like, do this. Do something different, right? Like, stand out from the crowd of what everybody else is doing. Or I think the biggest thing in a lot of markets in Canada right now, how do you get price reductions? Show them. Don't just tell them, show them. You're leveraging your time, because if you send it this way, you don't necessarily have to meet up face-to-face with them, right? You get to send this and go through everything. So I know people will have, this is like the biggest one. I can't tell you, I sent 100 of these out earlier in the year, and I booked 8 listing presentations because of it, and it turned into 6 properties that sold.
And one thing I want to say, and I'll add to that, Tom, because it's actually something that I talked to some agents a while ago, and I said, who sends their clients a CMA every year? And you know what? The answer I got was, well, if they ask me.
Right.
Wait, why are we waiting for them to ask?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, and I
Nope.
was actually worried when I used to send the paper CMAs because I was like, I'm kind of sticking my foot here if the value changes by the time they're actually ready to sell, right? Because things can fluctuate so much. Where I'm not sending them this saying like your house is worth this. It's like, hey, here's some sales in your area. Let me know if you have more if you want more information, right? Like it's a casual, like when you're sending it, use that word, say health check. Be like, this is my real estate health check. You know, you go to the doctor twice a year. This is the same thing for real estate. I just want you to let you know what's going on with the market. Um, it works for a lot of amazing things. And even something that we're doing with Loom right now within my team is my assistant is going through our procedure manual and filming the screen and herself going through everything. So, you know, if she's ever on vacation or anything happens, like we have everything in one place, all in video form. So it's amazing.
Nice. Quick time check for you, by the way, Tom. We're at 2:24,
Perfect.
FYI.
We wanted to
But
bulk there.
yeah, I did have a good question though that came
Sure.
from Jasmine Watson. I think is worth taking the time now to do it.
Sure.
But she said, when you send the video in your email, are you sending a link to the properties? Like, what are you putting in the body of that email?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is obviously it goes to them in the subject of the email. I'll typically say like I'll put their name, like I'll go Mike, comma, your updated property value, exclamation mark, and then in brackets I'll write personal video. Like I want them to know that this is personal to them, right? Then what I'll do sometimes is I'll say in the text above the video, I'll say, Mike, hey, just wanted to check in with your real estate health check. Please watch the personal video below. And then I'll put a link and then I'll put the link to the properties and say, here's the link to the properties we're discussing. And then below that is the actual video.
Nice. Thanks, Tom.
Yep, no worries. So we'll head to the next one. So this is number 2. I find a lot of people struggle to find new business in ways that is cost effective, right? We can farm, but the return, you know, you're leveraging, but it costs a lot of money, and the return, you know, it doesn't just happen quickly, right? So what I've started doing is lunch and learns. So I've only done 3 this year, but from the 3 lunch and learns I've done, I've sold 2 properties. And it's amazing because you don't have to fill the room. What normally I'm doing is I'm teaming up with my lawyer or my mortgage broker, and they're actually, sometimes they're doing it, sometimes I'm doing it. We'll reach out to our database and we'll just offer these free presentations. And I know you might say like, Tom, well, that's not free. You got to pay for lunch. Well, my mortgage guys paid for it every time so far, so it's working out. And I don't have to find the location. So like I've done one for Boston Consulting Group. I've done one for RBC Wealth Management. I've tried to find these organizations. If you can come in and say, hey, I'm going to come do a free presentation, and you think about creating these presentations, right? So you can have a first-time home buyer seminar. You got to know your crowd, how to build wealth in real estate, when's the right time to downsize, right? So it's amazing the response that we're getting from this. Now, I will mention with Lunch and Learns, people show up for the food. There's no doubt about that. But make sure you have a presentation that's engaging and make them stay for the information. And after the fact, the Q&A that's happening with these Lunch and Learns is amazing. And this is brand new business, right? Like these are people you didn't know before that day. This isn't your database, your center of influence, your strategic alliances. These are brand new people you've never connected with, where you get the opportunity to stand up there, be visible, show them you know what you're talking about. And we'll go to the next slide here, Mike. So what if you went to your database right now, you look through everyone, and we know where our clients work, right? Because we have FinTrack, right? We know that information. So we reach out and say, hey, I'd love to host a lunch and learn on your office. Figure out who the gatekeeper is, send them a letter, like send them something, and send as many of these as you can. Now, if you don't have the time for this, and if you have an assistant, they can do it as well. But just start reaching out. I think you'd be surprised at how many people actually say yes. A lot of these companies are trying to give valuable things to their employees, and if you can come in and you know, you're not going in there, the goal of these lunch and learns is not to try and say, hey, I'm here to sell you on using me to buy a house. Go in there and educate them. I'm telling you, it's the best feeling in the world when you just put it out there that you're educating people, and then you don't have to sell them. When the time comes, they already trust you because you've taken the opportunity and the time to go through things that they didn't know. One of my favorite sayings is, people don't know what they don't know, right? So show them. And what we think is maybe obvious because we do this every single day, I'm telling you, to the general public, like they just want some information. they're reading news headlines, right? Like, could you imagine if we conducted our business in real estate by just going off the news headlines, what we would think was actually going on? So here's my goal. My goal personally is to do 12 this year, so I got to catch up. But hey, even if you could do 6, do one every 2 months, reach out to your alliances, reach out to your database, try and book these lunch and learns. It's an amazing way to start bringing in brand new business. So this one's going to sound obvious, but I want you to kind of look at it the other way. We have a plan in place to touch base with our database. And if you don't, I'll show you what mine looks like in the next few slides, and you can copy it and do whatever you want. But we typically don't have a plan in place for the 18,000 other Royal LePage agents across Canada, right? So what if once a quarter you sent out a report or a video, or you call, like, literally, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but make yourself known. You know, one thing that I always thought was funny, I started realizing, like, on my Instagram, and you can check it out if you want. It's at the Storey team. That's probably the best place to find us. But I started noticing, like, most of the people commenting and liking my stuff and following me were actually just other realtors. And for a while, I was like, oh, well, why am I making all this content if it's just other realtors? But then I started getting referrals. People started sending me Instagram DM saying, Tom, hey, I know you're the Toronto guy. Can you help with my client moving to Toronto? So this is something that just clicked with me about 1.5 years ago. So everything you're doing on social and brand, trust me, it's not just about your database, the potential clients you could have. Focused on other realtors. So that's the first thing. I want you to have a plan in place to connect with the other 18,000 Royal LePage agents across Canada, and have a strategic partner. Send them videos and say, hey, I want to connect with you. If you go to conferences, please make meaningful relationships. I've actually started not bringing my cards to conferences, because if people remember me because of my card, I think I've already lost. Like, that's the reason why when they get home, they grab it out of their jacket and go like, oh yeah, that guy, and then they throw it out. No, make a real relationship with people and be clear with them, like, what your goal is. Like, hey, I'd love to send you business. I was wondering if we could, have a referral partnership. And a lot of people will say yes. Like, they just want their clients to be taken care of. So that's the first segment of it. The second is this. We, and myself included, are not great at letting our clients and the general public know that we can service Canada-wide, if not North America-wide, right? So how many 25%? So let's say I have a client whose best friend is moving to Vancouver, but I service Toronto, right? So they're probably not going to call me and be like, hey, Tom, I have a client moving to Vancouver. Can you help them? Because in their mind, again, perception is everything. In their mind, Tom services Toronto. What if I found a way, and you found a way, to make sure that your clients knew that you're Canada-wide? Be the connector. Imagine how many 25% referral fees are out there. I bet you could increase your sales by $50,000 to $100,000 just based, in gross revenue, obviously, just based on 25% referral fees. So we launched a program called the Storey Team Canada-wide, where I just and it's in my e-newsletters to my clients. I'm trying to make sure other realtors know about it. There's so much opportunity out there. And you think about a company like us, like, we are Canada's real estate company. Take advantage of that. So connect with other realtors, but then make sure that your database, in your marketing, in your brand, people know that you're Canada-wide. Well, they will reach out to you first, and you get to make the introduction. So I think there's a little gap there that I don't think anyone's really looking at, that can earn you a lot more income. So I wanted to give an example. I was recently at a conference in Vancouver last week for Richard Robbins, and Ray is a local from Vancouver. And this conference goes on every single year. So he started doing this service where, in the group leading up to the conference, he did a car service where he'd pick you up from the airport, take you to the hotel, and he had 2 cars going at all time. Now, I don't know if Ray sells 5 homes a year or 100 homes a year, but what I do know is Ray went out of his way to pick me up from the airport and drive me to my hotel. So who do you think I'm going to remember from that trip to Vancouver? And if I have a client going out there, he's making himself visible, and he's a great guy. And then he created this food and drink guide, where it was honestly like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was 48 pages long of everything you could ever do when you were in Vancouver. So he went above and beyond and made himself memorable. So if you are going to go to Head Start or the Royal Page conferences or any conference you go to, like think about how you can stand out, because everyone's doing the same things. Don't just bring a stack of business cards and hand them out at the table and think that's going to get you referrals. Build meaningful relationships and go above and beyond, because that's what's going to make people remember you and then want to help you, right? You're giving, you're giving, you're giving. People are going to start to want to give back.
I got a great question for that, Tom.
Yeah.
That's coming from the Foreman Davis group. But the question is around when you're sending that referral.
Yeah.
And I think this really speaks to, being a conference, but he's saying, how do I know that the agent who I've never met before is going to treat your clients as well as you would? And I think that speaks to two sides.
I think that's a great question. And that's what I think. Like, I'm not saying start randomly sending people out, but when you start going, when you start going to these conferences and you meet people from across Canada, it's like, I always think about it this way. The people that are willing to spend their time and money to grow their business and be better and be at these conferences, whatever conference you go to, probably have a similar mindset to their business, right? The same way you do, where if they're spending all that time and energy to get better at their own business, they're probably going to treat clients as well as you would, right? So that's how I would look at it. And I would say, more than anything, like use your gut, use your judgment. I'm not saying send referrals to people you don't know, but start trying to find ways to build relationships with these people, because then you have an opportunity that opens up, where you have everywhere in Canada that you blocked off and you have someone for every area.
And that speaks, I think, also to the other side. So I'm going to ask you, Tom, when you guys get a referral on your team, how do you acknowledge that other realtor and let them know what's going on?
Yeah, so we immediately will send them a thank you card with a Starbucks gift card in it. And I'm not sending that out when the deal closes. I'm rewarding the behavior, right? Like, I'm just saying, I don't care if this works out or not. I don't care if it's $1,000 rental or a $3 million house purchase. They're getting treated the same way, right? And then I'll send them a video and I'll say, thank you so much. I just want to connect and say thank you for, and then it's what I found is when someone sends us a referral, no different than when you're connecting with your sellers on a weekly basis. Hey, here's how many showings. I'm connecting with the person that referred to me saying, hey, just wanted to give you an update on Mike's search. Here's what we've seen. We offered on this. Like, keep them up to date throughout the process as well.
Nice. I figured. I was like, I know it's not in the script, but I was like, Tom will have a good answer.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Okay, so I know there are a lot of people that are sick of hearing about video. Like, I get it. What I would say is open up your phone, not right now, but later, and look on Facebook, look on Instagram, and tell me that video isn't at least 7 out of the 10 first posts that you see. Okay, it's already king. We're past the point to argue if it works or not. So you don't have to love it, but here's the way I think about it. I've been in the business for 5 years. I'm finally starting to have the turnover and the clients that I sold condos to 5 years ago that want to make that jump up to the next one. But other than that, every single other listing that I'm taking, I didn't sell them that property, right? And it's not always because maybe I knew way more than the agent that sold to them. And I'm not trying to poach them by any means, but I'm putting myself out there. I'm making myself visible. So here's how I look at video. I think you need to have some type of consistent, daily is kind of crazy, but weekly, monthly, whatever, call it whatever you want, and show people that you know what you're talking about. This is the best way to build your army of advocates, right? Like, these are the people that refer you when you sleep. I wake up all the time. And you know what's so cool about video? And I'll tell you, like, I've been doing a monthly video series for 3.5 years called the Storey Report. It's me and my business partner, Cam. You can see on the screen there. We talk about the market. We shoot it in one shot. If we slip up, like, we leave it in, we're ourselves, right? Be yourself 100%, because that's the person you want to attract, the type of people that you want to work with. If you're pretending to be somebody else, I'll tell you, like, I'll give you a live example of what my first video probably looked like. I would sit like this. I would make sure I had a tie on. I would be so serious. I wouldn't smile. And I'd have people be like, hey, Tom, like, your videos are great, but like your eyebrows didn't move, right? Like, so because you're trying to be yourself. And this is going to sound kind of funny, but not everything's perfect with every client relationship. And there's sometimes when you finish, with a client, you're like, oh man, like, I don't know, that one was worth it, right? Wouldn't you rather your client figure out who you are 100% before they ever reached out? Because not everyone loves everybody. If they don't like you, I'd rather them figure that out before they started the process. Let's save each other some time here. And that's not a bad thing, right? Like, the amazing thing about our business is we get to choose who we want to work with. And I really think that you should find ways to wake up excited every single day. Now, what else is cool about video is that you get to build trust with people before you knew they ever existed. So I've had this many times before where I get a referral sent to me, and I meet with them in person, and I'm like going through my buyer booklet with them. They're like, Tom, like, we're good. We already looked you up. Like, we just want to buy a place. Can you help us? It's like, so it's so funny. Like, I don't have to sit there and try and sell them. I'm not trying to sell them on me or my team. It's just like, all right, how can I help you? Right? Like, it takes the stress away from everything because I'm trying to educate them and let them know more about the process before they ever sat face to face with me. And then the last one here is make these videos with your database in mind. No different than everything else I've talked about. When I film this video every single month, I'm speaking to the people that are in my database. Obviously, I put it on YouTube and Facebook and everything else as well. But the main people that I want to see it are my database because they already know, like, and trust me, right? So stop trying to get random strangers. Like, that will happen. You're going to get cold leads as well. So we'll go to the next slide here. You're going to get cold leads as well. But I think, like, focus on the people you already know. It's untapped. I actually think it's somewhat of a fool's errand to go start spending a bunch of money on other types of marketing until you've mastered your own people. So here's a few ideas for video. There's the monthly market update, which I just talked about. The weekly Instagram Q&A. So we've started doing this. We call it the weekly story on my Instagram page. And really think about, like, buyers and sellers. For the most part, there's like 15, maybe 20 questions that they ask, but they're pretty much the same every single time, right? So what I was saying is, like, I have these conversations with my clients all day long. Why don't I just answer them on video? And then it's evergreen content that's always there. And you can do this on Facebook Live. You can do this on Instagram Live. You can just record it. Like, Instagram stories, and it's a bit further down. Be very, very active on this platform because by far it's the best organic reach. You don't have to spend a dime. It gives you the opportunity that it automatically pops up at the top of all of your clients' phones. And then I know Sandra did an awesome webinar a few weeks ago on Instagram. So go back and watch that one if you haven't, but there's so much potential there. Now, annual personal videos for birthdays and home anniversaries. In BombBomb and regular Gmail, which you don't have to pay a cent for, you can now schedule email. So at the beginning of every month, I'll send a personal one-to-one email to my clients that have birthdays, and then I'll schedule it. But I film them all in the same morning in about 30 minutes, right? Now, a lot of people, when they think about video, think like, oh, it's me talking to everybody and I'm putting myself out there. But I'm telling you, the videos I'm getting the best results from are one-to-one. It's the birthdays, it's the home anniversary, it's happy closing day, right? You get where I'm going here? Not everything has to be broadcasted to everybody. It's the one-on-ones that hold the most impact and the clients love. It's so funny. Like, I'll get responses being like, Tom, wow, you actually said my name. That's so cool in the video. Like, it sounds so obvious, but if you start doing it and doing it consistently, the results are amazing. And the last one, if you're farm an area, go interview the community. When the new shop opens, go do an interview with them. The school teacher that's been there for 35 years, ask them how the community's changed. Like, find ways to incorporate yourself more into the community.
One thing I'll ask you, Tom, in terms of that and the videos that you do,
Yeah.
When you started out, what gear did you use for it?
Honestly, tripod. Like, just get a tripod from Amazon. They're like $50, and I use my phone. I use my phone and a tripod. I will say, like, sound is important. I'm happy to, after the fact, like, share a link we can send out for the equipment that I use now.
Oh, okay.
But truthfully, like, the equipment, yes, it matters, but the message behind it, I get way more reaction on my grainy, like, one-on-one videos with my clients than I do on these, like, highly produced videos.
Cool.
Okay. And then I'll finish it off here. So, strategic partners, mortgage brokers, lawyers. I know for RICO regulations, you have to give a list. I know it's different for everywhere in Canada, but you usually have to give a list of a few options, right, to your clients. What I will say is this, normally it's a one-way street. I find that sometimes a whole office uses the same mortgage broker. And if they're good at what they do, hey, power to them, keep it like that. What I did is I went to my mortgage broker when I first met him and I took him out for lunch and said, his name is Jesse. I said, Jesse, I'm going to try and send you as many buyers as I can. You know, I'm young in the industry. They all need mortgages. I'm going to try and send you everybody. I'm not trying to send around to everybody. I'm going to try and give you as much as I can. And I just want you to try and return the favor. So last year, our team did 16 sales directly from our mortgage broker. So think about your relationships with your partners. Lawyers, you're not going to get much from. Financial advisors, not really. But mortgage brokers, like, think about the relationship you currently have. Are you using the same broker as everyone else in your office? Or could you set up some type of relationship that is very crystal clear what you're both looking for? So this is my my number 6 bonus. Testimonials create believability. It's not about credibility, it's about believability. So Google reviews, Facebook reviews, whatever, wherever your clients are going to be, you need to have reviews. Ask for the review when the transaction goes firm, not on closing date. When the transaction goes firm, your clients are never going to be happier than that moment in time, right? So ask for it then. And then when you get referred to someone, they're going to look you up anyways. Wouldn't it be great if all your amazing reviews popped up? And there's plugins you can get for your website. Like on my website right now, the first thing other than the listings is all my Google reviews, and it automatically populates when new ones come through. So if you haven't already started getting all your client reviews, start today. Send them a Starbucks gift card. If it's like a place you sold 2 years ago, there's still an opportunity to get these reviews. It's social proof and it creates believability. So, you know, I know we've gone through everything and it's like, okay, Tom, this is all great. Does it work? And the simple answer is yeah. We track it. So from the video CMAs, you know, just to sum it up, my team's done 23 sales in 2019 from what is quote unquote free marketing, from using our time instead of our money, right? So we've created alliances, we've done videos, we've done lunch and learns, we do video CMAs, we have our strategic partners, and it works. It works amazingly well. Okay, so this is just kind of a side thing I want to talk about. These 4 things, really, everything else we're doing on our day-to-day other than these is just busy work. This to me is productive, right? You book listing appointments, you show properties, you book buyer consultations for new buyers, and you get price reductions. So if you were doing the 5 things I just talked about, wouldn't it be easy to just focus on these 4 things, right? This is all you're trying to do, because really, everything's about appointments. These are money-making activities. Spend your time focusing on these. Okay, and I just want to share a quick story before we get into the end here. I've had some amazing media opportunities. Big thanks to Roy LePage for giving me the opportunity. And I remember when this started, I was like, oh my God, my phone's going to ring off the hook. Like, you know, this is amazing. Like, you know, $1 million agent, here I come. But as I started to realize, like, it was good social proof. My database loved it, and other realtors thought it was neat, and it created credibility for me. But through all this exposure, which I could not have afforded, there's no way I could have afforded this type of exposure. 2 cold leads ever have called me off media. So what it tells me is people don't pick their realtor because of the bus bench or because of the sign. Everything we do in life, and even more now than ever before, is repeat and referral. And when I look at these like lead gen websites and everything like that, the only people that should be scared of those are agents that aren't already following up with their clients on a monthly basis. If you're not providing value, you might lose someone to one of those sites, but I don't think you have anything to worry about if you're just going out of your way to give to your clients at all times. Okay, so this is what I spent on my database last year. So this is where the real money comes in. I spent about $35,000. I only had 187 people. I tried to keep it small but productive, and it grossed my team almost $500,000. So the reason I'm showing you this is because we'll go to the next slide. And feel free to take a screenshot. You can copy it, do whatever you need. This is my referral program. Like, this is how I connect with my clients, other than the videos and everything else. This is how I get myself in front of them. And what I thought was interesting as I started, you know, going through this list, I was like, the only thing here that really costs me money is the client events, right? So the trades and services guide, it's a booklet we make, we print once. It's got all of our contractors. When someone gets a new place, we give it to them in their closing gift, so they have it at all times. Home show tickets, you don't have to pay for them unless they actually go. Video CMAs are free. Micro events, they cost a little bit of money. We rented out this speakeasy. We had our top clients and had a cocktail night. Instagram contest, $100 for Amazon, right? So you see where I'm going with this? Like, nothing really costs that much money. In November, I thought I mentioned this, the 2 micro events that we did there. I had one that wasn't only women only and everyone could come, but it ended up being 25 women, where I rented out a nail salon and I called it Manicures and Mimosas. And I'm telling you, I've never had people say yes to an invite so fast. So there's amazing ways that you can treat your clients like gold. And they don't have to cost that much money. So I put this here again just to beat it in as much as I possibly can. You got to know your stuff. Got to have the ability, but make sure that you also got the visibility. Okay, like really think about that in your business. Where's the visibility of your business, right? Like, you got to know your stuff, but it don't matter unless people know that you know your stuff. Okay, so I want to end off the formal part of the presentation with just two or three more slides. So what I've found, and I've been very lucky that I've been surrounded by some amazing people that have mentored me in my short time in real estate. And I'll tell you, like, my first year in real estate, I sold 3 homes. Like, it was tough. I started when I was 22. Like, the projection that I'm on now is not because I'm any smarter or like, I just followed the systems, right? So execute, right? The difference between the agents that are at the top of their game and the ones that are just getting by is that the agents at the top of their game are executing consistently and they're being patient. All these systems, if you try it once, like if you work out really hard on January 1st, doesn't mean you're going to be in shape, right? Like, do it a little day. Do a little bit of it every single day. And if you're patient with it, I promise you the results are going to be there. You have to be consistent, right? You have to be patient. And when you get that idea, write it down and go execute on it. Like, that's the difference from the people doing this career at a high level and between those that are just getting by.
That's a really good question, actually, that I got in here, Tom, that I'd really like to ask you about, because I'm sure for you, as things are going and you're doing, your videos, your market updates,
Yeah.
you're doing birthdays. And one of the questions I got is just somebody saying, look, I'm having a really hard time trying to keep my head up to keep marketing during the really busy summer months.
Yep.
And so how do you stay organized on that? And that's coming from the Foreman Davis group. They've had really great, I'll tell you, I've had a really tough time. There's a couple times where you're like, Mike, can you change the slide? Because the chat has been going like crazy. So it's been awesome. A lot of really good stuff.
I'll get done the formal part and then we can do questions.
Yeah.
What I would say is, so like, I track my market, and where, like, I know that in Q2, even though it was only 25% of the year, almost 40% of all sales are going to happen, right? So any of my, like, let's call them B tasks, are moved to August. Like, I've got a list of things I want to get done in August because I know things are going to slow down, right? What I would say, though, is, even, again, that word, like, busy time, make sure what you're doing is productive. Busy is a word, it's a trap, right? So
Yep.
if you are very strategic in your plans and your calendar, and you have what your ideal day looks like, and you're plugging in your appointments, you can find time. Like, I'm telling you, you can find time. I think if all realtors ran their businesses like dentists, we'd all be millionaires. Like, they tell you when they want you to come in. It's during the day. They give you 2 or 3 options. You pick one of them, right? And then who does most of the work? It's the hygienist. They do 90% of the work. The dentist comes in at the end, makes a few jokes, right? Like, but if someone asks me who my dentist is, I say my dentist's name, not my hygienist and the person that booked the appointment for me, right? So I think, but to answer the question, like, look at the months of the year where your business is not as productive, and then focus on at least building these plans in August or December or whatever month it is for your market, to then see consistent results.
And one thing I'm going to highlight, if you look at what Tom has done, and one of the reasons I asked him about what he did to start doing videos is he's not doing a whole bunch of the video he showed with the CMA health check, which I thought was awesome. What I loved is he literally brought up like Word and showed, it was just typed. It wasn't a slide. It was just, so all he could do is just Control Alt, select it, delete it, do the next one.
Yep.
It didn't have to be fancy because the information was the value.
And they don't care about like some super high produced like, honestly, they just want the information.
Yep.
Right.
And it feels more real.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll finish it off with this. I love this. So the two rules of sales. I love this. So we'll go to the next slide. Um, Contrary to popular belief, the number one realtor in North America is not someone on $1 million listing. It is this guy. It's Ben. Business Insider did an interview with him. This was back from 2017, but it's all the same points. He sold 5,000 homes in 2017 and grossed $2 billion. And they were like, "What's your secret? Like, what do you do?" And I love what he said. He said, "Well, one, I make it easy." So now he was working with developers and created a system that would auto populate listings. So he was solving a problem for people, right? What I want everyone to think about in your business is, are you easy to work with? Like, not everybody, when they buy and sell a home, needs to become a realtor when they're done, right? Like, I know we want to show them we know what we're doing, but some people just like, I want to buy a house. Like, I don't, just help me buy a house. Like, figure out your client's personality. So stop complicating everything. Make it easy for the customer. Why do you think everyone buys stuff on Amazon? It's easy. I click it, it comes the next day. Like, you make things convenient for people, they're willing to pay for it. And then, yeah, this is my favorite part. He said, well, they have to like you, right? Like, make it easy for people and they have to like you. And I think you should like them too, right? So this is really simple stuff. This isn't revolutionary, but for a guy that, grows $2 billion, I think there's something to it. Make it easy, make sure that people like you. So I want everybody watching today to make me some type of promise, or even for yourself, write it down. Like, what are you going to do from this presentation and go ahead and execute on? Like, what are you going to do? Write it down and then go do it. And are you going to be patient with it? And if the results don't come right away, are you going to be consistent in doing it, right? So it's everything I keep talking about. But I really do think, like, without spending a ton of money, these are amazing ways to start generating business. So this is actually the last slide, just to sum it up. Build a business that makes you wake up excited. Market better to the people that you already know. Build your army, right? So the platinum rule. So Isidore Sharp, that started the Four Seasons, he made the golden rule famous: treat people the way you want to be treated. What if we even upped it? What if we made it the platinum rule? Treat people the way they want to be treated, right? Everyone has different personalities, whether you use disc profile or anything. I bet you could kind of figure out who your clients are. Treat them the way they want to be treated. Reach back out to them the way they reached out to you. If they text you, text them. If they call you, like, figure it out, or ask them at the beginning of your listing or buyer presentation. Take advantage of video. It's free. Remember the pillars and be easy to work with, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're helping people make a large purchase. We don't need to stress about it any more than it already is. Make your systems easy. So that's the bulk of the main presentation.
So Tom, I got a couple more questions
Yep.
for you. One of them I thought is really, really quite interesting, but just one of the agents on the line said they're a 20-year agent, 6 months into the business.
Yep.
And they're just saying, what's one piece of advice you'd give them? And that's coming from Jaden Narduzzi.
Build your database. Like I think that is the first thing. I wasted a year in real estate before I figured out the systems. Systems are a beautiful thing. Build your database, and then build that 12-month plan that I showed. Build your referral system. Figure out the touch points. And your database doesn't have to be people you've worked with. But what I would say is, like, you're going to spend some type of money on it. So don't just put anybody. Quality over quantity. Build your database, the people you know. And what I would say too is, in my first year, my best friend bought $1 million house without me and said to my face, like, you don't know what you're doing yet. My aunt moved without me. So you're going to get that. I would say it takes about 2 years for just even the people that already know you to trust you. So don't take it personally. Don't freak out on them. Prove them wrong, right? And since then, I've done like 10 transactions through my aunt's, a group of people that she knows, and that one friend, I've done 4 throughout his family. So don't take it personally at the beginning. It just takes a bit of time. Be patient.
Nice. And I'm going to remind people to, if they want to write in the chat, the one thing I love, I'm sure it gives Tom some, but if the one thing that you're going to start doing after today's webinar, Tom, I got to say, I have a page full of people just saying, thanks, fabulous, excellent. They love this, man. Awesome. They love this. One person saying, commit to send out my first video series by August 27th. That's Tracy Ann. Good. Thank you for that. Here's a great question that I got. How much does one have to spend roughly when starting out? And that's coming from Sophia von Nebelschutz. Oh, that is a tough one.
Okay, so I would look at, here's what I think. In real estate, hopefully, if you follow the systems, every year your income will hopefully go like this, right? But first, what I'd look at is not actually real estate business at all. I'd look at your personal life. Like, what do you need to live the lifestyle that you want? Put that aside first, right? And then create a plan. So I would say, like, if I'm brand new again, and let's say I had $15,000 in savings, I would try to invest as much as I possibly could into my business, because I'm telling you, even if it doesn't happen at the beginning, if you're patient with it, you follow these systems, like, this works. These systems work. So I wouldn't go crazy, but when I spend the money, I'd spend it on the people that you already know. Stop trying to convince strangers to work with you when you have a bunch of people that already know you.
And then I have another good question about just other prospecting activities. Somebody chimed in and said, "I'd love to ask Tom and his team what other are there any
Yeah,
prospecting along with these activities that you do?" That's coming from AQ Qureshi.
yeah,
And by the way, we got more commitments, by the way. Seema's committing to doing the fall video CMA. William's committing to asking somebody to do a testimonial. I love it. I love that stuff.
amazing, amazing, good. Sorry, repeat the question. I lost track there.
That's okay. Yeah. So just asking about you and your team, what other any prospecting along with these activities? Are there any kind of the standard stuff you do?
So I'm actually just going to look on the wall beside me, because obviously I do run a farming plan, but it costs a lot of money, right? So I've been running it for like a year and a half, and it's probably brought about 6 transactions, and it works, but it's expensive and it's time consuming, right? So, like, I only started doing that once I was getting a consistent 15 to 22% return on my database. So what that means is, where I'd started my database first is, like, if you have 100 people, if you follow that 12-month system and do the 5 things that I showed you, you can get 15 transactions from those 100 people. Doesn't mean they all move, but, like, they'll have a friend or a family member, right? So that's where I would start first. Um, we don't do traditional, like, I rarely pick up my phone, to be honest with you, like, because I'm sending so much stuff out. I don't do door knocking. Like, everything works. What I explained today was things that I like. But here's where my business comes from. My database, my referral is number one. Nothing touches it. That's like 75% of my business. Then I have my farming systems, right? That will get me 5 to 10 transactions a year. I have my agent referrals, so other realtors. That's number 3. And then number 4 is strategic alliances with my mortgage broker. So I would say I don't, like, sit down and go through one activity to prospect. It's more like this system is just consistent prospecting throughout the year, on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis.
And one thing that is pretty clear you do, Tom, also is you ensure that when somebody comes into you,
Yeah.
that they stay with you.
Oh yeah.
And
Like,
that's,
it's, yeah. I mean, like, what we're trying to take the process of buying or selling, find all the pain points, and take them away, right? Like, that's my goal. And when I meet with a buyer, like, I'm not taking a buyer out to see properties unless they've sat with me at my office for an hour and I go through everything with them and say, like, listen, this is your competitive advantage, that you're not just meeting your realtor at the door for the first time, right? Like go above and beyond, enhance the client experience, because even if you follow this, referral system or do everything else, if they didn't have a good experience working with you, it's really not going to matter, right? So, like,
yep.
like go above and beyond with the client, interaction.
So I'll end with this question that I'm interested in. And this comes from Edgar's Brivsks, and he says, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years, Tom?"
It's funny, because I've had that before in, like, a 5-year question, and
Yeah, 10 years is tough, man.
yeah, 10 years is tough. I really, really, I mean, obviously, I like this public speaking stuff, and this is fun too. But I still really do enjoy, like, as long as I'm waking up every morning and I'm excited, like, I'll still be doing this. I would eventually see myself kind of taking a step back, in where a team, I'm not actively involved, where then my agents become my clients, kind of like that. That's probably a step in the future, but I still enjoy this too much right now to change anything. And if you had asked Tom 5 years ago where he thought he'd be today, I certainly would have never ever said this. So it's kind of cool. Like, I don't want you to limit yourself by putting realistic goals. Like, I think whatever your 5, 10 years, like, make them ridiculous, because when you start surrounding yourself with other people that are going to make you better, it's kind of like, for me, it was like, oh, you can do way more. You got to look up, right? Where I was kind of just like looking here, if that's a good analogy or not. But I don't know. I'm still going to be in real estate. I love this industry, and frankly, I don't know if I'm good at anything else.
Well, Tom, I want to say, when you talked about surrounding yourself with people who are doing great things, I want to thank you for taking the time to be surrounded by about 200 Royal LePagers who joined live today with us,
Awesome.
so that they could look up and see what you're doing. The comments, the thank you, the promises that people have made speak to, and your passion to what you do and how you do it really comes through, man. That's really awesome.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed it. So I want to thank you personally for being here. Second, I want to thank everybody, as I always do, for tuning into the webinars. We got next great webinar coming up, which is going to be with the Chris Leader team in Leader's Edge. And that's coming up near the end of August. So we'll send you some links to that. But, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for chatting. My Lord, Tom, if you saw the chat, people have loved this, man. And there's a lot of requests for like, oh, I need to rewatch this. I need to rewatch this. And a lot of promises. And, one of the things that people are saying is just got to put these things into action.
Yeah.
So thanks so much.
That's it, right? Like, I mean, more than anything, every conference I go to, I love sharing all the information because people get it and make it better and then report back to me like what they're doing, right? But it's like, I'm giving up all this information because I want you to go take it and do it. So don't just sit on it, right? Like, go do it. And shameless promotion, but if you want to connect with me or my team at the Storey team, did I take that away from you, Mike?
No, you know what? I forgot to put, the next slide has that, but I did put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, so Instagram is the best one, at the Storey team. Send me a message. I will get back to you. Normally Friday morning when I start doing that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. I'll probably just send you a video explaining it because it's easier than texting. But thank you everyone for coming on the webinar, and I hope you got some value out of this.
Well, thanks so much. And again, like Tom mentioned earlier, if you do some of this stuff, if you put it in action, send it to Tom. He wants to see it. So send it to him. If we bombard him with so much stuff, then he won't be able to run his business, and then we can take him down. That's the plan. That's what it's all about.
Here's the best thing. When two people each have a great idea, right?
Yep.
They give it to each other, and both people have two ideas. So stop hoarding all the information. Like, put it out there. It's no longer yours, and build on it, make it better. And I think it's awesome what can happen.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And thanks, Tom. And we'll see you guys all next time.